Hello everyone, my name is Yuni Indriyanti and my student ID number is 33210086. Here I would like to present my presentation for syntax midterm test project. In this presentation, there are two parts. The first part is material explanation about constituency, and the second part is breakdown sentences into syntactical tree diagram. So let's start from the first part. What is constituency? Constituents are strings of one or more words that syntactically and semantically behave as a unit. Or we can simply define constituent as a group of words that function together as a unit. Here's the example. We can see the tree diagram from the sentence, "My father admires my mother." So each node is a constituent including a whole sentence and each individual word. So the sentence, "My father admires my mother," is a constituent, and the node noun phrase, "My father," is a constituent, and the node verb phrase, "admires my mother," is a constituent, and the node noun phrase, "My mother," is a constituent. So which one is not a constituent? For example, the phrase "father admires," it is not a constituent because it's not below the same node. To give evidence that it is not a constituent, we can try constituency test. Why do we need to do constituency test? We need to check if a group of words is a constituent or not. That is, do the group of words actually act together as a unit? And how do we know that it is a constituent? There are several tests we can do to determine whether it is a constituent or not. Those are the movement test and the substitution test. The first test is movement test. So we can see that if we can move a particular string of words in a sentence from one position to another, then it behaves as a constituent. And then if some sequence of words in a particular sentence can occur in a different position in that same sentence, then it behaves as a constituent. This movement test mainly for prepositional phrase or anything that is acting as an optional piece of information. So here's the example of movement test. There are two sentences. The first sentence is "John ate potatoes in the kitchen." So there is the phrase "in the kitchen." We can move it to the front of the sentence and it would be like, "In the kitchen, John ate potatoes." Even though we move the phrase "in the kitchen" to the front, the sentence, it still makes sense. So we can conclude that the phrase "in the kitchen" is a constituent. Same as the first one. The second one is "James ran a marathon last night." If we can move the phrase "last night" to the front of the sentence, it would be like, "Last night, James ran a marathon." And the sentence, it still makes sense. So we can conclude that the phrase "last night" is a constituent. The second test is substitution test. So a particular string of words must be a constituent if it can be replaced by something else, such as by a single word, by another string of words, or even by nothing at all. There are two kinds of substitution tests, such as substitution of nominal projection and substitution of verbal projection. So the first one is substitution of nominal projection, pro-form substitution. A particular string of words is a constituent if it can be substituted by a suitable pro-form, while pro-form is a word or word sequence that stands in for some other word or word sequence. For example, the sentence "My father admires my mother" became "He admires her." The pronouns he and her function as a pro-forms here, because they stand in for the noun phrases "my father" and "my mother." And the second one is substitution of verbal projection, do-so substitution. Do-so replaces verb phrase constituents. For example, the sentence Barry hired a big jaguar and Millie did so too. The unit hired a big jaguar. We can substitute with did so. So we can conclude that the unit hired a big jaguar is a constituent. And the second one is Lenny sent Will a postcard and Gemma did so too. The unit sent Will a postcard. We can replace it with did so too. So the unit sent Will a postcard is a constituent. So here is the source of my material presentation. So now I will explain the second part, which is break down sentences into syntactic tree diagram. Number 1, the sentence Aldi went to the cinema last week. Here is the tree diagram. The sentence divided into two nodes, which is noun and verb phrase. Aldi act as a noun, and below the verb phrase there are verb, prepositional phrase, and noun phrase. The verb is went, which is the past tense of go, and there is prepositional phrase, which contain preposition, and noun phrase to act as a preposition, and below the noun phrase there is the cinema, which the act as a determiner and cinema act as a noun. And the last node is noun phrase. Last week, last act as an adjective and week act as a noun. So this is number 2. The sentence is the faster runner won a gold medal at the Olympic. The sentence divided into two nodes. The first node is noun phrase and the second node is verb phrase. The first node, noun phrase, contains determiner, noun, and adjective. You can see that the word the act as a determiner, runner is a noun, and faster is an adjective. And the second node, verb phrase, contains three nodes, which is verb, noun phrase, and prepositional phrase. One is verb 2 of the word win, and then in the noun phrase contain determiner, adjective, and noun, which is A is determiner, gold is an adjective, and medal is a noun. And the last node is prepositional phrase. At the Olympic. At is a preposition, and there is noun phrase the Olympic, which the is determiner and Olympic is a noun. And number 3, the sentence is the old and big tree swayed in the hurricane. The sentence divided into two nodes, which is noun phrase and verb phrase. Let's break down the noun phrase first. Noun phrase contain determiner, adjective phrase, and noun. The is determiner, and below the adjective phrase there is adjective, conjunction, and adjective. Old is adjective, and is conjunction, and big is adjective. And the last node of the noun phrase is tree is noun. The second node is verb phrase, divided into two nodes, which is verb and prepositional phrase. We can see that sway is a verb 2 of the word sway, and below the prepositional phrase there are preposition and noun phrase, which is in is a preposition, and below the noun phrase there are determiner and noun, which is the is determiner and hurricane is noun. And this is number 4. The sentence is the youngest sisters put the doll in the purse. In the sentence divided into two nodes, the first node is noun phrase and the second node is verb phrase. The noun phrase contain determiner, adjective, and noun, which is the is determiner, youngest is adjective, and sister is a noun. And then the second note divided into three notes, which is verb, noun phrase, and prepositional phrase. The word put is a verb, and then the noun phrase contain determiner and noun, which is the is determiner and doll is noun. And the last note is prepositional phrase, contain preposition and noun phrase, which is in is preposition. And below the noun phrase there is determiner and noun, which is the is determiner and purse is noun. And number 5, the sentence is the big girl saw Elazar with lovable panda recently. The sentence divided into two notes. The first note is NP or noun phrase, and the second note is verb phrase. Below the noun phrase there are determiner, adjective, and noun, which is the is determiner, big is an adjective, and girl is a noun. And the second note contain three notes, which is verb, noun phrase, and adverb. We can see that the verb is saw, which is verb 2 or past tense of the word see. And then the noun phrase contain noun and prepositional phrase, which is Elazar is a noun. And below the prepositional phrase there are preposition with and the noun phrase, and below the noun phrase there are determiner, adjective, and noun, which is A as a determiner, lovable is an adjective, and panda is a noun. And then the last note is adverb, which is recently. Okay, that's all my presentation for syntax midterm test project. Thank you so much for your attention and see you.